Elon Musk might be the reason for a $35 trillion loss? Let's find out. Elon Musk's rejection of the environmental, social, and corporate governance (ESG) scores as a scam highlight for how Wall Street's hottest investment trend that encompasses some $35 trillion in assets means different things to different people. For today's video, we are going to be discussing the details of this issue. So, without further ado, let's dive right in. The chief executive of Tesla Inc. recently lashed out against S&P Global Inc. after the electric car maker was dropped from its flagship ESG index, while it added some companies whose activities are more damaging to the environment, such as oil and gas producers. Musk, being Musk, turned to Twitter to express his frustration with the move, despite Tesla doing more for the environment than any company ever. He added that ESG has been weaponized by phony social justice warriors. S&P Dow Jones Indices Senior Director Margaret Dorn told Reuters that Tesla had been omitted from the index because its score weakened slightly, just as the scores of other automakers had improved. Tesla was not excluded because S&P executives decided to kick the company out of the index over a specific issue, she added. While Tesla's cars add to lower carbon emissions, its ESG score had fallen behind in other aspects, such as lowly working conditions at its US Fremont factory, claims of racial discrimination, and its handling of a US government investigation into multiple deaths and injuries linked to its autopilot technology. Sustainable investing, taking into account ESG factors in portfolio selection, has exploded in recent years, reaching $35.3 trillion by the start of 2020, according to the Global Sustainable Investment Alliance. Half a dozen investment managers interviewed by Reuters said Musk's spat with S&P illustrates how confusion still controls how many investors and executives view the industry. Some people, like Musk, believe the rating should reward companies that do the most for the planet and society. Others, including organizations like S&P that produce the scores, say they are meant to show how much danger a company's stock faces from ESG factors. This clarifies why some companies that are major contributors to climate change, such as Exxon Corp, are allowed to stay in the ESG index if they can show they are taking actions to reduce that risk. Ultimately, ESG is a way of identifying and trying to quantify risk. So it's basically risk mitigation, said Chi Chon, portfolio manager at Federated Hermes. Effectively, Musk is conflating ESG with sustainability. Mark Tinker, chief investment officer at Tuscafund Hong Kong, said Musk rightly pointed out that societal and corporate governance thoughts are being used for political-driven canceling, and that a company's contribution to the environment can also mean what you want it to. The whole thing is very subjective, Tinker said. Tesla did not respond to a request for comment on behalf of the company or Musk. S&P published the change in its ESG index on April 22. But it wasn't until May 18, a day after Horn wrote a blog post that explained why Tesla was excluded from the index, that Twitter users started distributing it, catching Musk's attention. Only a tiny fraction of the ESG's industry's assets under management, $11.7 billion as of the end of 2020, are tied to S&P indexes. S&P's influential ESG index rival MSCI Inc. has so far kept Tesla in its blue chip ESG index. It was not immediately clear if the exclusion from the S&P ESG index had any impact on Tesla's shares this week. The stock had already been descending almost every day since early April, losing close to 40% of its value, amid concerns that China's COVID-19 related lockdowns will distribute Tesla's car production, and a potential economic slowdown and raging inflation will dampen demand for its vehicles. Uncertainty over whether Musk will complete his $44 billion acquisition of Twitter Inc. has also weighed on Tesla's stock. S&P declined to provide a breakdown of its ESG score of Tesla, which is compiled based on scores of the company's various operations and practices. MSCI also declined to provide a breakdown, but a May 3 copy of its Tesla rating sent to investors and reviewed by Reuters shows how its perceived poor performance on social issues took some of the shine out of the company's sturdy green credentials. Tesla scored 9.1 out of 10 on environmental grounds, against an industry average of 6.5. This made up 30% of its total ESG score. On social issues, however, it ranked 1.4 compared with an average of 3.5, while on governance it scored 5.1 against an average of 3.2. Andrew Parita, Senior Vice President for Sage Advisory Services, an Austin-based investment firm, said as a Tesla investor, he understood why the company's ESG scores were lower than they might have been based solely on the company's contribution to the fight against climate change. You can't live in a vacuum of just environmental or just social issues. They are all intertwined, Paretta said. Anyway, this wraps up our video for today. What do you think about this video? Let us know in the comments section down below. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel while you're at it.